Do you want to know what makes the Fiend Invest V2 Fork so strong? Today we're going to do an explain and review on the Fiend Invest V2 Fork. Like always, we want you to hang tight because later on in this video we're going to tell you how to win a bunch of free stuff from our bike shop just by subscribing and possibly winning a free bike. We're also going to tell you all the specs and everything about these forks, as well as where you can buy these forks. So let's get to it. So if you're kind of wondering what makes an aftermarket fork different than a stock fork, it's definitely going to be the material and just a little more of like how they created the fork. So a stock fork usually is a high tensile steel fork. It usually has a two-piece steer tube, which means it's like a pipe welded to another pipe to give you the actual fitting that you need. A lot of the other forks, the stock forks, they don't have like a heavy-duty fork bolt or compression bolt, and their dropouts are a little more wimpy. So that's kind of what you get when you get a stock fork. So usually a stock fork is going to bend from the steer tube up here, or the legs are going to bend. That's just because it's just two different metals. They both are tubes and everything like that, but a stock fork is high tensile steel, which is a lot softer than the heavy duty chromoly that these are. These are a lot thinner and they're a lot stronger because they got different manufacturing things going on with them, like heat treating and machining and stuff like that. So these forks are produced by Fiend. Fiend's owned by Garrett Reynolds, the street and park and everything else, BMX God. So he just absolutely slays it. But a lot of these other team riders ride these forks. But this is pretty much the standard of good quality stuff. These forks, they come in black and they also come in chrome. There's a lot of differences between forks and stuff like that. So let's kind of talk about I would say, not really, how do you say, not manufacturing part of things, but like what the difference would be between the fork and what makes it ride a certain way. So traditionally a fork was about a 30 millimeter to a 33 offset fork, and that's, when you're talking about offset, that's from the center of this tube here straight down the legs. It comes down, and how far your actual wheel is sticking past your forks. So if you kind of think of it like a chopper fork, when you're riding fast, if you have your forks on this side of the center of the tube, what happens is that your fork wants to ride a little bit straight because your bike's not riding straight up and down. It's actually, at this angle. So what it'll do is it'll actually create your wheel to stay straight. That's why you can ride with no hands down the street, is because your wheel just naturally gets pitched so that it rolls forward. You've seen that if you put it in a bike stand or anything like that. If you tilt the bike forward, the bike will drop and it'll settle to this side, because this side sticks out a little bit more and all the weight's centered here. The same thing when you're riding and you put the pressure on it, it's actually pushing up against it and causing it to lock in place and creating you to be able to do a no-handed bike ride. So with that said, is the traditional is about 30 to 33 millimeters, and that's what kind of creates it to just sit like that. Nowadays, riders are asking for a little bit more out of their fork, and with that said is that they got a lot more body control and balance and stuff like that. A lot of it comes from the forearms, and after you start getting better at riding, you can deal with it swapping a little bit faster. So as a beginner, you're probably want to do a fork that's like a 32 millimeter or something like that. But once you start getting more advanced and want your fork to do a little bit more, then you can start playing with this type of stuff. If you're a beginner, you can definitely get on this. It's not gonna make or break your BMX career, or even if you don't even have one, but it's actually just the way you want it to function. It's kind of like using a spoon and a fork. You wouldn't eat soup with the fork. I know some of you guys do because you stab the potatoes or whatever you're eating, but it's a little bit easier to do it with a spoon. So with just that said, and you can kind of agree, is that you want to pick your tools for what you're actually trying to accomplish. So this fork is pretty cool because it comes in a 26 rake or offset. We used to call it rake back in the day. So now they call it offset, which is pretty much the same thing. So from the center of the steer tube to how far it sticks out when your 3/8 axle sits perfectly up against it is going to be 26 millimeters outward. So that's what creates it. That's that's a lot shorter than like a 30 or 33. So what that does is it allows you to do like nose manuals a little bit better. It allows you to do toothpicks better. It changes up your like Smith grinds a little bit. It pulls actually your wheelbase a little bit tighter too. So if you think about that, if you have a fork that sticks out, your wheels are gonna be farther apart. With it being a 26, it's gonna scoot in a little bit. So it changes up a lot of things. That goes for everything. The same thing with like running different size tires in the front. If you're running a 175 tire, that tire is gonna be super thin on that rim, so your bike's gonna actually drop down. Now, if you're running a 2.45 or a 2.5 tire, your tire is gonna be a lot bigger, so it's actually gonna pitch it up. And that also changes your head tube angle. Changes a lot of stuff from the seat tube angle and your bottom bracket height and stuff like that. So you gotta really play around with a lot of different things. If you think that just switching one thing is gonna make or break what you're trying to do, it doesn't. That's what's so cool about BMX is that you can change it and it will do a lot different things. So this fork is a 26 millimeter offset, which is pretty standard. There's some 25 millimeter ones that are pretty popular, but the 26 is a little bit more mellow, kind of feel a little bit safer rather than going to 25. But Fiend also makes now a 20 millimeter offset fork as well, so that's getting even more intense. So this is pretty cool. It's a pretty simple one, and yeah, just get you doing some nose manuals, kind of get you into the groove of things, and you can start riding and doing some tricks like that. So that's the main thing that's about these forks that make these different than a lot of other forks. But it definitely doesn't make this fork the strongest fork. There's a lot of other cool features that make it a really strong fork. So let's start from the legs, and normally we do it the other way, so we'll do it the opposite way. So starting out the dropout, I've noticed something big on these forks, and it's the fact that these fork dropouts are all one piece. When I was first starting riding bikes and when I was pro, riding for BMX brands, they didn't have Invest casted dropouts. So what they were actually doing is they're welding right here, welding a piece of, like a plate of metal or chromoly to another tube, and they would actually have to slot it and everything so that they could make a nice weld right there. Now what's going on is they have Invest casted. What that is they're throwing a bunch of metal inside this smasher type thing, and it compresses all this material and it makes one solid fork dropout. So they're both different, so it actually makes two of them, and it just mashes together, and out of one chunk of material it makes this whole dropout and this whole tube right here. So you could kind of see it, not very well, but from my eagle eye, I can see where they actually welded it together. But that's the difference between traditional dropouts and what these dropouts are made out of. So what's cool too, on the back side, you can see it's indented here, kind of designed like that, so it takes out a lot of weight. These dropouts are 6 millimeters thick, so that's pretty thick compared to most dropouts. Most are like 4 to 5 millimeters, so this one being 6 is just a little bit more meat on there, so it's harder to bend. When you ride pegs, your axle usually bends first, or your bolt bends, and when it bends, it's actually a crowbar, like almost like pliers or a wrench or something, and it just tweaks that dropout. So with it being thicker like that, it allows it to be a lot stronger. So that's very cool on their part by doing that. Also too, you notice that there's a little cutaway right here. That is because you have to have so big of a tubing to make it strong, But also too, if you have a peg on there, you want it to clear the peg. You don't want this dropout hole to be way back here, and then you go to put your peg on, and then your axle's sitting on the end and could just fall off if you did a disaster or something like that on a quarter pipe. So definitely bright idea where they slotted it right here, made it kick back a little bit. These forks, you could put pretty much any plastic peg on there and it'll fit up and not be a problem. Maybe you might have some trouble with some old school pegs that were super fat, but nothing from our website. So definitely check that out. So this was all created out of one piece, and what they did was they made another tube here, and then they just dropped this one on here, weld around it, and then they clean up the edges and they end up painting it. But if you want to know if it's a good quality fork, you just got to look at the fork, and if you see any blemishes or anything where it looks like it's been put together, that's how you know it's not a very good fork, because the more indentations that somebody's worked on it will show that it's not as good quality. So if you see a crack or anything like that, or scuff marks, it's probably not a really good fork. It's probably, definitely you'll see it on other spaces where the welds are pretty nasty, where they're bubbly or they have little nipples on them and it just looks horrible. But if you look at these dropouts, there's no welds or anything like that. That's because it's not welded on there. It's actually a Invest casted dropout, and that's where the name Invest fork comes from. So very cool. These legs are a little bit thicker than most forks. If you look at the tubing, they're tapered, but it's a lot bigger tube down here, and then it goes up to an even bigger tube, and that's just probably for strength and everything like that. And yeah, they definitely look awesome. They look a little bit beefier than some of the other forks. The other forks tend to look a little bit racier. These ones look heavy duty, more street. So very cool from there. Now let's move up to the steer tube. We talked about having a 2-piece steer tube and a 1-piece steer tube. So stock bikes usually gonna have a 2-piece steer tube, and that's because to create it to be cheaper, what they'll do is they'll take one tubing that's 1 1/8 thick or diameter and actually slide it down here, and then they'll weld another tubing that's a lot bigger and slide it over. So instead of actually machining it out, which takes a lot longer, it takes a programmer and stuff like that, they'll just mash them together, weld up around here, weld up on the bottom, and put the little race on, put your bearings and put in your frame. But the problem with that is this is where it's taking the most beating. So eventually that thing's gonna break, especially if you're casing jumps, you're doing disasters on quarter pipes, you're bailing when you're doing a grind or hitting a rail or something like that. Your forks are gonna take the most beating because it's just the two wheels touching the ground. So if you launch your bike, I know you've seen your bike land like this a million times, and what that's gonna do is eventually rattle that thing apart. So having a 2-piece steer tube is not very good for the longevity of your bike. Usually if you're doing that, you're going in a little bit more than most people. A lot of the bikes are just made to ride and jump a little bit, but if you're getting extreme and you're a little burlier than the guy next to you, that's probably just because you're more athletically inclined. That means like you might be super rough on your stuff, you don't maintenance it, you kind of just think that it's gonna last forever, but it's not. So if you're that type of person, I would definitely look for a 1-piece steer tube, just like this one. And you can tell that because you won't see any welds underneath here. It'll look pretty thin, and you'll see some machine marks here, see how it tapers. So this one here is actually, if you look inside of there, I'm gonna pull this cap off right here. But yeah, if you look inside of there, see it's super hollow, and yeah, a lot of materials machined out. It's a lot thinner here than it is right here. You can see where it tapers, so it's super light. And they did that because this isn't really where the strength is at. It's gonna be right here where this fork is, and then down here more. And notice how they kind of taper the outside of the fork. You can kind of see it from the side, but it actually tapers, and it almost looks like a M16 bullet or something like that. So it actually tapers, and then flattens out again so that your stem could fit on there. But if you notice also too here is that the brace, and this is a lot of people don't know what a race is. It's pretty much the thing that rides on your bearing. So a race is the piece that rides on your actual bearing. It's not, you know, I mean, the bearing itself, it's not the cup, it's the actual piece that rides on that. This one has it built in. You've seen a lot of the other ones where it's a little circle right here and people bang it on. If it has a built-in race, do not, I cannot stress this as much as I am right now, do not put the race on just because you got a new headset, because it's gonna make it wobble and your forks are never gonna stay tight. So if it's got a built-in race, don't add 2 races because you can only do 1 race at a time. So definitely just slide the bearing on there and it makes it super simple. So very, very cool. If you want to know how the headset works and kind of how to tighten it up, look at one of our other videos about forks and rummage through there. We got in-depth explanation of how to actually tighten up your headset and to make your forks work. So rummage through our videos. If you're not too sure what video is which, you could always go to our website at stackbmx.com, go through the forks, and we have the videos posted up on the top of the verbiage, so you could watch it from there. You could expand it to full screen. It's a little small video, but it blows up. Same quality, everything. So check those out. We'll keep adding these as we produce these. We'll keep adding these to our actual website to help you guys out. So that's kind of the little part that we're trying to do for you guys, because there's not very many shops or anybody explaining what these actual parts are. So we'd appreciate it if you hit our site. Yeah, I mean, actually used it. That's what it's there for. So check it out. If you get some good information from us and you like what we're doing, definitely support our shop. Buy your stuff from us. It's okay to split up an order. Buy some stuff from us and then buy some stuff from somebody else because they got something else that you like. It's probably gonna break anyways, but you know, I mean, we only carry the best stuff. But go ahead, try them out. You know, I mean, we want you to see our competition. You want to see you to check them out, and then I want you guys to realize, you know, we only carry the best quality products, and they're gonna last. So yeah, check those guys out. But definitely try to support us as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the built-in race. And then the weld part of everything is you want to look at the welds and want to make sure that it has very clean welds. They call those dimes. And basically it looks like a bunch of dimes stacked on each other. So the cleaner it looks, the more uniform it looks, the better the welder was, the better manufacturing it is, the better quality forks, the longer your forks are gonna last. So you can see it on a lot of the cheap forks. That's why they're $60, because they're just cheap forks. You can see how they're welded together. There's a lot of things that are missing. Welded on fork blades, they're not invest casted, they don't have a machine steer tube, they don't have built-in race. This thing's they're super heavy, they look horrible, they don't have tapered legs, they have some goofy graphics on them and just a crummy sticker just slapped on there. I mean, the list goes on, but you get what you pay for. Know that everything we sell on Stack is just the dopest of the dope. We don't want to carry any of that stuff, we don't want to support it. Because it's just hurting BMX. So, you know, I mean, we want to support the guys that are killing it, doing their best, and that's what we care about, is the best in BMX. So, definitely, these welds are awesome. This goes into a tapered, this tapers down into an 1 1/8 inch so that you can slide your stem on. But if you notice here, there's some lines on there. So those lines are pretty cool because obviously these guys ride bikes, they know what's up, and they've probably dealt with this before, is actually being able to cut your forks. I've had a lot of people come to my shop before, and even when I worked at another shop at another place, and they literally complain that we're charging to cut their forks and it just happens like this. And long story short, they take it home, they try it, give it a go. They go through blade after all kinds of stuff, and they ruin all kinds of tools. And that's because these things are heat treated chromoly, and these things are super hard and they're pretty thick. So it makes it very difficult to cut these. I've seen it wear down blades in an instant. Brand new blades wear them out, and it's because it's not the correct blade. We get high quality blades and we cut our forks. So if you're gonna cut your forks, which these lines are made for, definitely get a high quality blade on your hacksaw. Don't use a pipe cutter, because those pipe cutters are made for copper. I know a lot of you guys would get real lazy and think it's easier, but it will help a guide on here. But as you're cranking that down, what you're gonna actually do is it doesn't actually cut the tubing, it actually just pushes the tubing, and it ends up pushing it in here, making it very, very sharp. And also too, it may even jack up the threads in there because it pushed it so tight. Then you're gonna get a file and try to clean it all up, and it just turns into a big headache. But pretty cool thing is that you could use a hacksaw because it's got these little guides here and here. So you want to take a little bit off or you want to take a lot, you can do that. But try not to go too far, because once you go too far, you can't weld it back. But if you look inside, it's got some really thick threads in there so that you can thread your compression bolt in there, and it could pull it all tight. And the lines do not drop below those threads. So as long as you're on those lines, you're not going to cut through the threads, and you're going to be able to ride your forks happy. But we have to show you the little cap. This cap's pretty cool. It comes with the 6061 aluminum cap, and it has a little Fiend laser etched logo on there. But the whole thing's anodized after they laser etched it to give that murdered out look. And another cool thing is that it's got 2 different Allen wrench sizes. So you can see down there's a 6mm Allen wrench and an 8mm Allen wrench. They must know a lot of you guys use the wrong Allen wrench, use standard on metric. These are all metric, so make sure you use a 6 or an 8, not a 1/4 inch or the bigger size. I forgot what it is, but top of my head. But make sure you use metric so that you don't strip these out. These are aluminum. We get a lot of customers coming in here asking us if they can just buy this bolt here. And most of them, they think they want to buy it, but when I tell them it's 20, 25 bucks, it's a different story. They don't want to buy it because it's way more expensive than they bought their used forks for, or their buddy messed it up, whatever it may be. But don't mess these up. Use the correct Allen wrenches. It'll help you out in the long run, and it'll give you a lot less headaches, because these things are not easy to get. A lot of people come to our shop, they complain, oh, it's just this fork, or hey, I got this little drawing of it, looks like a leprechaun or something like that. You know those funny sketches and stuff you see on the news? Yeah, it's kind of like that. So we deal with that a lot, and these all are different. There's not one that's always the same. It's not perfect. It's very, very hard to carry a lot of them because, like I said, nobody wants to buy them when we do have them because they're so expensive. Because this isn't like an easy bolt to get. You can't just go to the hardware store and buy this bolt. This is actually a custom bolt. It doesn't look like it's a custom bolt just because it's got threads on it and it has an Allen head, but this is 100% custom. So custom bike parts equal custom problems. So don't mess this thing up, because they're not all the same. This fork isn't the same as another fork, and so on and so on. Yes, some of them may match, but they're not all the same, and most likely your local bike shop doesn't have them, and most likely they don't even sell them because they're just so hard to get and they're so expensive to make. So definitely take care of these. Don't get in a hurry. Take your time. These don't need to be cranked on. So if you are stripping it out, it's because you're doing it wrong. You should probably watch a video that we posted before so we could tell you how to tighten up your headset. So knowledge is power. Use that power. There's plenty of knowledge out there. A lot of the knowledge is free. So you guys like free stuff. Take all that free knowledge, utilize it, and help yourself out. But another cool thing about this cap is that I told you that you can cut the fork, but if you cut it, what's gonna happen is it's gonna bottom out, and then it's not gonna go in anymore. So they provided this little line right here so you can bust out your hacksaw again, and you can cut it right there. So if you cut your fork down here, it's not gonna thread all the way, it's gonna stop. So you cut it here, and then that allows it to tighten up your headset. So very, very cool ideas that they have. Pretty cool how they brought it all together. They did the Fiend graphic on the side. They did the Invest casting dropout. They did the tapered legs. They did internally machined steer tube with the built-in race. The externally machined steer tube as well. They machined in a little cut line so you could cut it with your fork. So mad props to those guys at Fiend for creating such a cool fork and making one of the strongest forks out there. So if you're looking for a new set of forks for your bicycle and you want to make it a little bit steeper for nose manuals, then check out the Fiend Invest V2 Forks. These things are dope. Support those guys. They're doing a bunch of cool things for BMX. They got an awesome team on their website. They're putting those guys on. They're doing trips. They're making quality videos. They got a videographer. They got a photographer that does all their stuff. They're all keeping it in-house. They're all creating it themselves, and they're riding bikes and doing what they love. And they created all that out of nothing. So very, very cool on their part. Mad props to them. Thank you for bringing us these awesome parts here. And yeah, sick. Always fiending. But yeah, we told you guys that we will tell you how to win a bunch of free stuff from our shop. So all you got to do is like, subscribe, and comment below, and just let us know what you liked about the video, what you didn't like about the video, what's on your mind, what are the parts we should review and explain, what bike maintenance you would like us to explain. I know a lot of tricks and tips on fixing bikes and stuff like that. So if you want to know something, or you want to see me show you some tricks to how to do it real easy. A lot of customers come in here and they complain that I charge them X amount of money because I fix it real quick, and they always complain about it. But the reality is I've been doing it for 15, 20 years. And the reason why I can do it in 2 minutes is because it's taking me 10 or 20 years to figure out all these tricks. So that's why they go all the other bike shops, because they're cheaper and the guys can't get it off, and then they end up coming here and I fix it in a jiffy and they still complain. So knowledge is power, use that. We're gonna keep doing those videos in the future, and we want you guys to give us input in the comments. So let me know what you wanna know about, and I'll teach you guys some tricks and tips to be able to finish that bicycle faster and easier. And we'll just keep this stuff rolling. So leave those comments below, because it's gonna help you win this contest. So when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're gonna give away a free parts package from all the brands that we're carrying in our store. And the cool thing is we're only 140 away. So make sure that you turn on your notification bell. So every time we drop a video, that you know that we have a video out, and then you can leave a comment, because that's gonna enter you into our contest. And then also we want you to share this video, because if you have a website or you got Facebook or anything like that, you can share the video and it's going to spread it to other people, and they're going to be able to watch our videos, and they're going to be able to learn just like you and possibly win that stuff too. But mainly they're going to have knowledge, and they're going to be able to know stuff about BMX and why things are a certain way, and why it's different than just a bicycle that you buy from the department store. None of this stuff that we carry here is from the department store. All that stuff is junk. Tell your family, don't buy that stuff. They're getting swindled. They're tricking them. It's got 2 wheels, handlebars on it, but it's not a BMX bike. It's junk. They're just bandwagoning on our sport, and that's not cool at all. So definitely let them know that BMX is dope, and to watch our videos, to check it out, to see what's different, and we want to keep making these. So when we hit 5,000 subscribers, we're gonna give away a free bike to one of you lucky viewers. So that might help you get into BMX. So even if you don't ride BMX, you can check out those videos and you could possibly win a free bike. So leave a comment below, let us know what's on your mind, and we'll read all those comments, and we appreciate that. So we're gonna actually randomly select a video, and then we're gonna randomly select a comment, see if you got a brain, see if you gave something back to the community, let us know what's up, gave us some insight of what you wanna see, and that's how we're gonna pick the winner. So if we scroll down and some guy says some mean thing, we don't like that, so we're just gonna not pick him. We're gonna go to the next guy that's actually using his brain and being, contributing to our community. And if he has a cool comment, we're just gonna say, hey, yep, he's the winner. So we're gonna give you guys something away for free, shipped to your house, free of charge. You guys don't have to do anything besides like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, definitely we appreciate you guys. We've been super busy here in the shop. We've been killing it, and it's been super, super dope. It hypes me up to see these sales come in, because I know that when I pack this order up and I send it out to you guys, that somebody out there actually cares about BMX and is gonna ride those BMX parts. And that's why I'm here, is trying to get more people on bikes, because it is the #1 most efficient machine on the planet. So very, very cool. Thanks again for watching our videos. We appreciate you guys, and always stacking, never slacking.